Welcome back to Brush Up Your Game, and today we're going to take a look at some resources. Now, resources came out in the Dominion War, the OP, Organized Play events, and they were an optional addition you could add to your fleet. And some of them, most of them, cost a certain amount of points. The first one I'm showing here costs 5 points, meaning you had 5 points less to put on your fleet, but then you got this persistent benefit. So today I'm going to go through a few of these, and I'm going to keep having a series of resources here. So the first one up here is the Elite Attack Die. And the Elite Attack Die was a physical die, a black die, that had 8 sides to it. The pips on the Elite Attack Die were 3 normal hits, 2 battle stations, a crit, so just like normal. But then the 2 blanks were replaced with a second crit and a double hit. So this is like, this is pretty good. This is a better attack die. Now the way it all worked, a player could choose to exchange one of their attack die with the Elite Attack Die. You couldn't roll that more than once during the round, regardless of how many ships they have in their fleet. The double hit could be canceled by a normal hit, but the order of cancellation was normal hits, then the double hit, then the crit hit. And you go, wait, I want that double hit going through. Well, make sure you use this on a big hit and try to get lucky on the double hit. And then, and that's it. So the Elite Attack Die, nothing like super fantastic. And for the most part, probably was not ever worth 5 points to add to your fleet, because 5 out of 8 times it was doing just what a normal attack die did. Actually, 6 out of 8 times, because the crit, the 3 normal hits, the 2 battle stations. But when you replace those blanks with guaranteed hits, it's an improvement. Now, this definitely benefited Federation and Dominion more because they had battle station actions to convert the battle stations up to normal hits. But I would love to see the Elite Attack Die come back in some way, shape, or form. I think it's tough now because you have to include a physical item. You'd have to put it in the box of cards that utilize the die. But I think you could put it in a faction pack, and players would have access to it, even if it's one. That pairs with, and I'm going to go find it here. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to go in order. So this was month 1. Month 2 brought us the command tokens. And I loved the command tokens. These were fantastic. You got a set of 10 command tokens, and you chose 5 to use. You could only use the command tokens for your ships, and when a command token was used, it flipped over, and you couldn't use it again for that engagement. Now, you got to remember, OP events were 3 battles, typically, and you made the choice. You brought 5 for the event. And so here's the 10 choices you had. You got an evade, you got a free battle station, you got a free scan, a free target lock, had to follow the normal rules. Then you got a free reroll of any of your attack die or dice, a reroll of defense dice, and I loved using that on cloaking ships. As you've seen, my defense rolls are garbage, so getting a free reroll of my defense dice were great. You could also add an attack die. You could add a defense die. And then you could set an attack die to your choice. That would be a crit. If you set it to anything else, we examined you for head trauma. And you could set a defense die to an evade. Again, if you set it to anything else, we examined you for head trauma. I didn't really like setting a defense die. That was kind of a last gasp effort. But setting an attack die was a frequent consideration. Adding an attack die was something I typically considered. re-rolling a defense if I was running cloaking, re-rolling attack dice if I was, in general, and then extra tokens depended on the scenario and my fleet. I almost always brought a battle station token because that never hurt. Didn't matter what fleet I was running. But this was great. And I believe it was ruled, and it's not on the card here, but you could only use one of these per round. So you got to figure combat is not super duper long. You wanted to have tokens that had a little bit of flexibility to them, thus like the rerolls, because stuff was going to go wrong. But command tokens were great. I did consider them worth 5 points. They were way more flexible than almost any crew I could ever put on my fleet. And that's what made them highly worthwhile. I'll also mention month 3 here. We got the reinforcement sideboard. Now, this was a physical, like chipboard, cardboard board, decent thickness. And it was the reinforcement board. So prior to the event, players selected one of each of the following card types: a captain, a talent, a crew, a tech, and a weapon. And the total cost of these could not go above 20. They could certainly be less. During the activation phase of any round, a player could use a ship's action to equip that ship with one upgrade from their sideboard. You had to have a slot open, or you could exchange an upgrade with one upgrade of the same type from the sideboard. You could also exchange a captain, upgrades that could only be purchased for certain ship types could only be equipped onto or exchanged to the specific ship type, like the energy dissipator, could only then go on to a Breen battle cruiser because of those extra points. You couldn't account for the extra points on the sideboard. It was weird like that. And if you did anything cross-faction, then you had to take an Ox Power when you took the action to bring it over. So maybe that's where the energy dissipator fit in. I might be thinking of like this card can only be purchased for a Galaxy class ship, something like that. That's where number 3 would go. So the reinforcement sideboard. I did not make enough use of this when I played because you had to get hyper creative with it. You really had to know the game. But there were tons of ways you could really abuse the reinforcement sideboard. Nowadays, you could abuse it like crazy because you can build a ship with Calvin Hudson, discount all your upgrades, and then swap in a better captain. There's just a lot that can be done. And that's like the tip of the iceberg. That's the very tip of the iceberg. You can bring in Jen Sisko, and then you can swap her for a crew that actually does something, because she's then on a ship that has a start game effect, and then you can have a crew that's going to help your ship later on. It was also a way of keeping certain upgrades safe from like the first round, those Jen Sisko effects. Not that Jen Sisko was out when the game happened, but the reinforcement sideboard, I think, is probably like the most powerful of the resources. I know flagship resources is lingering up here, and we'll talk about them. So flagships, you got 4 flagship cards. They had an independent side and they had a faction side. And you got to choose one to put on your ship, on one ship to make it the flagship of your fleet. You had a Federation, a Klingon, a Romulan, and a Dominion side. If you chose that faction side, it had to go on a ship of that faction. If you chose the independent side, then the ship became dual faction. You didn't have to pay a faction penalty to do this. And here's the other thing. Flagships came with slot additions, 3 stat boosts, and an action where the action either added it to the action bar, or if you already had that action, gave you that action as a free action every round. Plus, there's more. It gave you a text ability. It gave you a bonus ability. So like here, the Romulan flagship. So remember, this could only go on a Romulan ship. Bonus attack, evade, and shield. Not that Romulans needed a shield. They got the short end of the stick there. When attacking all other friendly Romulan ships within range 1 to 2 of your flagship, may choose any number of their attack dice and re-roll them once. Okay, that's pretty cool, right? You get a free sensor echo action on this ship. Nowadays, that would be amazing. You got an extra weapon slot. Boo. Should have been a tech slot. And a talent slot, which was great because now whatever captain you put on there either got a bonus talent or got a free talent. Not a free talent. Got a talent slot even if they didn't have one. So this is good, right? But the independent side of this still gave you those same stats. Gave a free battle station action, or put battle stations on your action bar. And all friendly ships within range 1 of your flagship gain +1 defense die. And you got a crew and a weapon. And you see it continues, right? I'm not going to read all of these. But go look at these. They're pretty darn good. I think Dominion got the short end of the stick with bonus evade, hull, and shield. They really, really wanted an extra attack die. And I'm not sure the Federation were like the favorite here. Federation ships within range 1 to 2 of your flagship can choose any number of their defense die, re-roll them. But you do get the bonus battle station, or free battle station. I did like the independent Fed flagship, though. Free evade, and then after your flagship moves, you may target one other friendly ship within range 1 of your flagship. The target ship immediately performs a second action. Listed on their action bar as a free action this round. And you get a bonus attack, hull, shield, tech weapon, or tech crew slot. That's pretty good. See, nowadays, with the 50-point limit, flagships would not be as good. This would hurt most ships because you'd be hitting that 50-point limit real quick. But yeah, I do think, and maybe this is a toy, a tease. I would love to see the custom community come together and build flagships for all of the different factions. I would love to see a Borg, a Species, a Vulcan, a Bajoran, a Ferengi, a Mirror. I think all of these need to exist. I don't much care about the independent ones. I think independent was actually a really bad idea. I want the in-faction flagships. Because I like the idea. I like the bonus action. I like the 10 points. And it's real easy, even within the 50-point limit, you say, okay, fine. The flagship itself doesn't count. Or it does, right? We have multiple ways of approaching that. That's the first 4. Real easy to talk about the last 2. Hideki fighters were a resource. Yes, you could bring an extra ship as a resource. And you got these Hideki class attack fighters for 20 points. Instead of making a normal attack, you may make an attack with 2 dice from your rear fire arc. And they just, like the Dominion Hideki fighters, they have the token stack that Every time they take a shot, they lose points. They were a pain. They were a pain in the butt. And yes, I ran them frequently as my resource because for 20 points, you're telling me I'm going to bring a ship that makes it really tough to destroy them? Yeah, that was my thing. So that was month 5. And then month 6, you got Federation attack fighters. And these had a little more durability, a little less attack. But you got the nice ability here. If you initiate an attack at range 1, you may reroll one of your attack dice. And they had a little higher captain skill. Captain skill 6. I guess, no, Hideki said the same. Even same actions. Yeah, evade target lock. So, yeah, yeah, Federation moved slower, had better come-abouts, had white come-abouts, had more green maneuvers. Just didn't have a 4 straight. So, it depended on what you wanted to do, what kind of mission you were at, how fast you needed to go. But these were interesting in that fighters were durable, had enough attack dice to make life hurt. So you wanted to attack them for a bit to lower their attack dice, but how much you were going to do that really hurt your ability to target out, take out the rest of the fleet. So it was kind of this tug of war of, okay, well, I can leave fighters alone, but then they're going to chew through me, or I can target them, but then the rest of the fleet's going to chew through me. I don't know. Resources are an interesting play. Dominion War resources, definitely some of the best. That's not to say that others are bad, but there's a reason we start there. Well, that and they chronologically came first. So consider this resource part 1. We'll have more videos talking about the rest of resources. They kind of come in chunks. So, yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, keep brushing up your game. Take care.